So, hello. It's 4 o'clock now, so we're going to get started with our online office hours. I'm Nicole Hosette. I am the digital archivist for the South Dakota State Archives. Um, Fair warning up front while we're, getting people settled. I have the place in my apartment that gets the best light right now is my cat's chair. Hopefully he behaves, continues to behave, but there might be a surprise cat showing at some point. We'll see. Hopefully not. But yes, so again, I am Nicole, the digital archivist for South Dakota State Archives. I also have Sarah from last week in the chat um, to help answer questions. And Kim, our librarian, is also sitting in because what we're talking about today is something that she deals a lot with, so she should be able to answer anything that I don't know. So I guess we'll jump right in. Last week, during Sarah's office hours, we had a question, a really good question about digitizing newspapers. And so we thought we'd take this week to talk a little bit about the work, talk in more detail about the work that we've done so far with getting our newspapers digitized and online and available to be viewed. So a little bit of background. So the State Archives holds over 17,000 reels of newspaper microfilm, all the way from, I think the earliest we have is from 1859 up through 2019. Most titles in the state, it's a lot of titles in the state from the state. It's weekly and daily newspapers, it's small towns, big cities, Argus Leader, we have all those. We have an online index to our microfilm, which I will show you. Let's transfer. Give it a second while it. There we go. Okay, so this is our website. Along the side here, all of our newspapers that we have on microfilm can be found under collection indexes, then newspaper database. You can search by your city, your county, date. We'll look for Pierre. And then it brings back a list of all of the newspapers we have from Pierre. And as you can see, it's a lot. A lot. So what we've been doing to get our newspapers out and available is through working with a project called Chronicling America. It's a project it's a partnership between the Library of Congress and the National Endowment for the Humanities. They award grants on 2-year cycles to organizations to digitize their newspapers. And we work with a company out of Wisconsin and the Minnesota Historical Society to get our stuff digitized. We select the titles, we send them out there for digitization, and they all get sent to the Chronicling America project to get posted on that website. The Library of Congress has kind of specific standards to make sure that the newspapers are going to be able to be best preserved and useful for the longest amount of time. That was the thing we noticed. You might remember, when places started digitizing stuff in like the 2000s, they wouldn't scan it at a high enough quality. And looking back at it now, it's not super useful. So the Library of Congress has standards in place specifically to hopefully keep it as useful for as long as possible. And what else? Oh, the grants. So the grants are on a 2-year cycle. We received our first grant in 2014. We're on our 3rd grant right now. We just finished applying for our 4th round, and we'll hear back about that. I actually don't know the timeline for that. We'll hear back about it at some point, but so fingers crossed we get the 4th round. We'll have, I think at the end of this cycle, about 300 rolls uploaded to Chronicling America. And let's get back to Chronicling America so I can show you. Oh, there. Kim says we should learn in August about the grant funding, assuming the timeline doesn't get wonky because of everything happening right now. Okay, so we're back on our website. I have too many windows open right now, guys. Bear with me. So we're on our website. We have a nice little tab over here for newspapers online. This is going to give a little bit more information about the project. We have a list of the newspapers that are up there now, organized by city. So you can see it's pretty varied. We just have this map, and I meant to get it all. Oh wait, did I get it? I think I got it actually. Yes, Matthew put this together, or one of our other archivists put this together, I think. Matthew, Kim, someone put this great map together, and it shows all the cities, the towns that have newspapers that we've digitized so far. So you can see we did a pretty good job of trying to spread it across the state, getting smaller areas as well as more populous areas. One of the stipulations, I guess, is we don't do newspapers that are already available online somewhere else, which is why we don't have the Argus Leader, and we don't have, is it the Deadwood papers that are also online? I think so. Because they're already online, and we want to have a wider variety. We want to get as many places represented as possible. And if they're already available, we don't want to do it again. We also tried to do complete runs of newspapers. Newspapers pre-1923 is important because of copyright. Anything before that is generally considered in the public domain. Anything after that, we'd have to do more legwork to determine if a publisher still holds a copyright. And that's a little hard to do for newspapers that are 100 years old. So we'll switch back to our website, which can bring you to Chronicling America. Link right there. Mm-hmm. Oh, I suppose I'll take a quick second before I keep going. I see we have a few more eyeballs now, so just a reminder, um, this is Nicole with the digital archivist for the South Dakota State Archives. We're talking about Chronicling America and getting South Dakota newspapers digitized and online and freely accessible, because Chronicling America is a great resource. It's free to use. There's no charge. Um, so yeah, I want to show you a little bit how to use the site, because there's a couple different ways that you can do searches, and depending on what you're looking for, um, there's going to be better ways to do it. So I guess I want to show you this first before we do a search. This All Digitized Newspapers tab, South Dakota, go. And this is the same list we have on our website, just with some more information. And I figured I'd point out a few cool newspapers that I think are cool anyway. Is it? Yes. So here's a good example, the Yankton Daily Press and Dakotan. This is the oldest one that we have online right now, 1875. Now this is one of the weird titles that the name changed a lot over the course of the newspaper's life. So for a full, what's that, 7 months, it's the Yankton Daily Press and Dakotan. And then it changes to the Daily Press and Dakotan for 5 more years. Newspapers changed hands and they merged and they got new names. And it's just another thing to be aware of if you see that a newspaper like the Yankton one only has a year run, but like that one is still running today. That might be why the name might have changed. They might have merged. So with clicking on the title, it gives you some more information, some cataloging information. It also has this fun like history of the paper. And this is something we do as part of the grant. We hire a part-time employee for the length of the grant who does the research into the paper and writes these great little essays with more information that are kind of fun to look through. From this main page, there's a calendar view, so you can see all of the dates that are available. So this is our limited run where we only had 7 months of it. So you can see that it was published on these days. In May, they didn't publish it on Mondays. Interesting. And from this page, you can click on the issue date, and you get the full all the pages, and you can view them, all the pages for that issue. Okay, I think that's the fun things I wanted to show you about. Oh, were there any other fun titles? Oh, we have some really interesting German language newspapers out of Sioux Falls. These are kind of neat. Because it's in German script, which I get a kick out of, and I think it's very cool. Hard to read. I think we have one person on our staff at least who can read it well, read German decently. But it's an important part of South Dakota's history. There were German foreign language newspapers, and these couple of German newspapers are just one example. Yes, German language. Very cool. We also have one more that I like, and then I promise I'll stop. The Oglala Light. This was published from the Pine Ridge Reservation by students at the Oglala Indian Training School. It ran for, I think, yeah, 1920, I think is the last date. And I want to show you a front page of one of these. It was a monthly publication. And you can kind of get a sense here of the feel of it. It's a little bit more narrative. Their tagline was that it was in the interest of all Indians, for all Indians, by Sioux Indians. I think it was sent to a lot of other boarding schools. It's an important voice that I'm glad we have up here. I think it's good. Okay, done with that. Let's do searching. Advanced search tab at the top. You want to select South Dakota. Oh, another fun fact. There are currently, I think, 48 out of the 50 states are represented here. The only two that are not, Massachusetts and New Hampshire. I assume they have their own digitizing. I didn't look into it, but it's pretty neat that 48 states are involved with this. The project really wanted to get like the voice of America, and that's with as many states as possible. That's how you do that, I guess. Sorry, I'm switched over to chat now. I'm looking at what you guys are talking about. Thank you, Kim, for talking about the font because I thought it was cool and clearly did not know enough about it. And Kim is sharing that it's printed in Fractor font. Yes, that's another thing that I should have talked about earlier with the Library of Congress standards that we have to hold up to. One of them is OCR scanning, which is optical Oh, what is the, I don't remember what it stands for, and that's very bad because I should know this. Basically to make it text searchable. um, and thank you, Kim. Optical character recognition. Thank you. Um, which, like she said, can't do German and English, so those are not text searchable. However, um, well, I'm letting myself get distracted by chat, you guys. Sorry. Oh, now I've completely lost my train of thought. Stop being so interesting, Kim. Just kidding. Please continue to be interesting. Um, Library of Congress standards, text searchable. Yes. Okay. Now we're back to this. Now we're back to the searching. We can actually do a search. Um, Again, you can search for any. I meant to look into this Piedmont. I know the Piedmont area. I did not know that it was a state because it wasn't, right? Um, so that's a thing you should explore if you're so interested. Um, Several territories are in here also. Puerto Rico. I think the Virgin Islands have. Did I not see? Uh, Washington D.C. has some in here. If you know the paper you want to search for or you want to look through, you can. They're all listed here in this big chunk. Um, Aberdeen's a good example because it's right at the top. If you click on that title, it's going to just search the Aberdeen newspaper, but we don't want to do that. We want to do all newspapers in South Dakota. You can search by date range or date. We're leaving it wide open because we want to see what there is to see. Um, I already did a search for suffrage. We're going to do another search for suffrage because I think we're still in an important year for that. There's a bunch of options to get it as precise or vague as you want. We're going pretty vague with this. But if you're searching for something very specific, these are going to be your friend. I'm also going to limit our search to front page. Now we're going to search. Yes. And here we go. These are the South Dakota newspapers that have suffrage on their front page. And you can see these, it's sorted by relevance right now. You can do it by date. You can do it by title. All options to make it easier to find what you're looking for. With such a vague term, I mean, we have 2,000 hits right now. So if you want to narrow it down and make it easier on yourself, that's a good way to go. So we're going to look at the Mitchell Capitol from October 1st, 1897. This is the front page. I guess I kind of already showed you front pages with some of the other newspapers, but we were not doing a search, and now you can see how the search turns up. Zooming in, we can see that the Equal Suffrage Association held a convention. And it's a nice long article. Lots of things to look at. We have fun with this. Kim especially has fun with this. I'm going to switch back over to this because I think I've showed you everything that I wanted to show you on that. So one of the fun things that Chronicling America does, the Library of Congress does, is hashtag parties on social media. Kim, how often do they do it? It's once a month. They'll come up with fun themes, and then archivists go search their newspapers for interesting things to share. Third Tuesday of the month, and that's on Twitter, Kim says. Yes, there's the hashtag for us. Um, hashtag party. It's a lot of fun. The other states, I mean, Kim gets really into it and finds really fun stuff. Um, the holiday ones are always interesting. The Santa ones are, there's a lot of very creepy Santa ads in historic newspapers. And Kim finds them and shares them on Twitter, and other states do the same thing. Um, oh, and I see that a question came in, and I bet Kim is gonna have a good answer for you, Jacob, about getting your community's paper digitized. But basically, there's a selection committee that kind of chooses the newspapers to do for each grant cycle. And because we just applied for ours, the newest cycle, or the latest cycle in January, we wouldn't be applying for another one until 2020. But that's time to talk with Kim. She's gonna I'm gonna speak for her and say that she will reach out to you with some more information about it. Yes, but that's a very good question. And she might have more options for you too, because she's really our digital newspaper. She's really a newspaper wizard. She knows all the things. Um, so yeah, she'll have more details. I wish I had uh, more I could give you right now, but she'll get you. Um, yep, there she goes. So what was I talking about before I got distracted by the chat? I was talking about the hashtag parties and how you should definitely, if you're on Twitter or if you're not, get Twitter and go check them out. It's a lot of fun. Kim keeps our Twitter pretty active with fun, not just the Chronicling America hashtag parties, but there's other ones where we search our collection for photos that fit this theme. We have a lot of fun with it, and I like it, and I think you will too. Yes, so I think that's about what I had, and probably a lot more than I meant to share with you, but um, all good information. That's all relevant. um, so yeah, if there are any more questions, did I miss any questions? I don't think so. Nope. Oh yes, Rolene brought out the point that one of our newspapers is in the Dakota language. Oh, are there any in Norwegian? I think in this not digitized. Um, we have some. I don't know the titles off the top of my head. Again, another thing that Kim will know. But I know that they're not digitized. South Dakota, there were a lot of Norwegian pockets. There she goes. We're working on one currently. So that should be online by the end of this grant cycle. No, I shouldn't talk for Kim because I'm going to say something about the timeline and I'm going to get it wrong and every get Kim in trouble. There will be one online. Um, yeah, are there any other questions? I'll hang out for a minute. I'll be very pleased that my cat behaved and you didn't have to see his big face. Well, it has been a half an hour, and I don't see any more questions. So maybe we'll call it a day. If you do end up having more questions later, you can always reach out to us here on our Facebook. You can email us at archref, ARCHREF, at state.sd.us. With any general questions, and we'll forward it to the right person. I see there was another question. Let's see, what do we have here? How long does it take to cycle? And Kim spoke to that. Best way to find an obituary from 1909. Newspaper. Yes. There are there other sources? There are probably some. Actually, that's a thing I can. Hold on here. I want to make sure I'm going to tell you a thing that's real and not me thinking it's real. Aha, and it's a good thing I checked because I was wrong about it. And Kim gave some good searches, or some good, tips for searches to get through Chronicling America. Yes, use advanced search to look for a person's name. Keep in mind the full name is not always used, which can be tricky with like married women who are Mrs. George Anderson, and you don't, it makes it a little trickier to track down or to parse out, but not impossible. Okay, any other questions? Well, I'm Nicole Hosette. I'm the digital archivist at the South Dakota State Archives. We're always around. Even now, staff are working from home and we're monitoring the Facebook and we're monitoring the reference inbox. And Sarah shared last week all of the things we've been working on and things we have for you up online. And that video is still available. If you missed it or haven't watched it yet, a recording of it is available on the page. You can go back and see what Sarah had to say. Sarah gave another really good tip there in the chat. Use the last field in advanced search for names, and I can show you what that looks like. Boop, boop, boop. Let's switch back over to this. So yes. The last field in advanced search. Yes. Names within 5 words of each other. That is this last one on the bottom row here. And that is really useful. Still not always 100% correct, but it does a pretty good job. Okay, last call for questions. Okay, we're gonna call it good then. Thank you so much for joining us and letting me walk you through Chronicling America, which is such a great resource. And like I said, it's 48 states. So even if your family isn't from South Dakota or, settled later, like my family's from Iowa, Iowa options are there. So it's really, it's helpful for way more than just South Dakota, but we wanted to share what we've been working on it, or what we've been doing, our part of this program. So yes, okay. I think I've rambled long enough, and we'll let you guys go and enjoy the rest of, at least in Pierre, it's a very nice sunny afternoon. Cool, but I am a fan of that, so I have all my windows open and it's lovely. So, yeah, everybody hang in there and take care and join us next week. Oh, next week, I should tell you what we're doing next week. Next week, we're going to have Matthew, our manuscript and photograph archivist, talking about how to donate stuff. We have heard from people that who are taking this time right now to like clean out their homes or clean out their basements, and are finding stuff that they think should maybe have a home in the archives. And Matthew's going to talk about that process. And I think that will be a very interesting session. So yes, come back next Wednesday at 4. We will be here. Matthew will have lots of more good information for you. So, okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of your day.